Hi, I'm Mike Gafa, and on today's Whiteboard Wednesday, I want to talk to you about 4 ways that we as leaders in the church can encourage staff. 4 simple ways. The first of those is simply to be present. So what does that mean? It means exactly what it means, be present. When you're in conversation with staff members, make sure that you're focused on them, be a good listener, be attentive to their needs, listen to what they're saying, because so often our tendency, I think, is to have conversations and our mind is a million miles away, or we're thinking about what we're going to say next. And being present with someone is to be fully present. So listening, being there for that person, and it can make all the difference. And staff members know whether you're present or not. It also means that you have to invest time in staff members. So making a point to connect with people. How's your day going? How's your family? How are you doing? That's what we're talking about with being present. The second aspect is to be affirmative. Just be a person who affirms other people. And this too takes intentionality. So we don't want to butter anyone up. We don't want to be false about this, but every person has some good things to offer. And the assumption that they know what they're good at, that they know they're appreciated, that you're glad they're there, is the problem with assumptions is sometimes they're just not true. And so I want to encourage you to be intentional to affirm your staff members. About a week ago at the church I'm serving at now at Corinth Reformed, our consistory did a wonderful thing for our staff. They gave us a lunch. It was Qdoba, and just said some really nice things about the staff, and it was their way of saying, we affirm you, we appreciate you, and I can tell you it's only been a week, but it's still being talked about. So affirming staff members can go a long way. The third aspect is to compensate fairly. There are a lot of ways we can approach compensation. We can try and figure out how to get someone in place for the least amount of money possible. That'd be one approach. I don't advocate that. On the same hand, we don't have to be the highest paying church out there either. What we do need to do is compensate people fairly. And so market studies in churches, we can go macro. There's a variety of different studies that are done. In our denomination, in the Reformed Church in America, there's some minimum guidelines, and I want to emphasize that those are just minimum guidelines, okay? And too many churches, I think, look at that, and they look at the numbers on the page and go, well, that's what we'll compensate to. That is not the intention of the document. So you got to do a little legwork, but it's biblical that we compensate staff members fairly, pastors and leaders, everybody right down the line, custodians and office people need to be compensated fairly. And then finally, implement an annual evaluation process and do it in a way that isn't burdensome. It needs to be comprehensive. It should be fairly thorough, but it should emphasize things that people are doing well and where we want them to optimize those things that they're doing well. And it should surface some things that people need to work on, that they're not as strong as they could be or should be in those areas. But what we don't want to do with an annual evaluation process is we don't want people going into it dreading the process. An evaluation process should be a process where people are affirmed, appreciated, where they're encouraged, where they're challenged, but it needs to be balanced. And so there's a lot of ways to do it, and I just want to encourage you to make sure you do that. Thanks. Have a great day.